Hey everybody, it's Ron from Pick Dawgz, and this is Ron's Bank Shot Breakdown. We're going to go over 5 college basketball games for Monday, December 12th, 2022. Now, if you like what you see, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to put your college basketball picks in the comments section below. If you're looking for my best bets, you can always find those at the Premium Picks tab at pickdawgz.com. Alrighty, let's get into it. Here are the 5 games in college hoops for Monday's card. First up, we see Sacred Heart taking on Stony Brook. This one's going to be a 6:30 Eastern start time. Now, this was not my favorite card. I mentioned for Sunday's college basketball video, I wasn't crazy about the card there. Not really crazy about this one either, but the good thing is it gives us a chance to talk about some of the teams and some of the programs that we don't usually get to talk about on the breakdown, and that's, Sacred Heart and Stony Brook for sure. Sacred Heart, I do think, is getting a little bit lucky out on the court as they're 5-5 this season, which is not too shabby of a record, but they're ranked 296th on an adjusted defensive efficiency, not much better on the offensive side. And I do think their defense is getting a little bit lucky when you look at the opponent's shooting numbers. Sacred Heart's effective field goal percentage defense ranked 189th in the country, yet, like I mentioned, their defense right around 300th in the nation. So, Sacred Heart's taking advantage of a lot of the weaker teams that they played this season. Hartford, Columbia, Binghamton, Western New England, and New Hampshire for those Division I wins, but those are teams ranked outside the top 300, and then one subdivision win. So, Sacred Heart really hasn't had much of a tough schedule this year. When they have stepped it up, they've gotten crushed in most of those games. So Stony Brook being the home team here, they played a pretty tough schedule overall. I do think if there was a spot for Stony Brook to grab a Division I win, this would be the spot. They're a good defensive rebounding team. They don't take a lot of fouls. They can get to the free throw line. So I do think I'm going to roll with the Seawolves here and take Stony Brook on the money line. Next up, we see Northern Illinois taking on Gonzaga. This one's going to be a 9 o'clock Eastern start time. Northern Illinois has not really impressed me much this season. When they've stepped it up in competition, they have not fared well, and they even have a subdivision loss. They lost to Illinois Springfield at the beginning of the year. Their only wins against Purdue Northwest, which is another subdivision team. They played LIU, they beat them, and Eastern Illinois. Those are teams ranked around 350th in KenPom, so no real impressive victories for Northern Illinois. Now you go across the country against Gonzaga, who has not fared well as a favorite against a number of times this season, but still, this is the 4th-ranked adjusted offensive efficiency team, a team that scores a lot of points and very quick, fast-paced offense that in a game like this, I would not be surprised to see them score 90 or 100 points without really breaking a sweat. The Northern Illinois defense is not good enough, and the offense is also having issues turning the ball over, ranked 350th in the country in turnover percentage. So it's not easy to lay these big numbers, but I'm going to lean towards Gonzaga here and lay the boatload of points. Next up, we see Rice taking on Texas. This one's going to be a 8 o'clock Eastern start time. It's going to be on the Longhorn Network. Rice is a very solid offensive team, but is that offense going to travel against Texas and this very good Longhorn defense, number 3 in the country in adjusted defensive efficiency? I just don't think so, and Rice's defense has been one of the worst in the country, ranked 303 in adjusted defensive efficiency, 357th in effective field goal percentage defense. They don't force virtually any turnovers, and yes, they're pretty good on the defensive glass, but not good enough on the offensive glass to get those second chance opportunities. I think Texas, you see them play Arkansas Pine Bluff in their most recent game, beat them by 45 points. I don't think it's going to get that ugly in this game, but I still think Texas wins this game very convincingly and very comfortably. So I'm willing to lay the points here with the Longhorns against Rice in this matchup. Next up, it's South Florida and Northern Iowa. This one's going to be a 8 o'clock Eastern start time on ESPN+. Now, while the total is set super low, I still think there's some value on the under in this game, as both offenses, I can't trust them at all right now. South Florida has won 3 of its last 4 games, but not really impressive wins on paper. Charleston Southern, St. Francis, New York, St. Joseph's, nothing crazy there. The beginning of the year, South Florida lost its first 5 games. 3 of those were big-time upsets to Southeast Missouri State, Stetson, and Austin Peay. They're ranked 246 in adjusted offensive efficiency, 234th in effective field goal percentage, so not a very good offense. On the other side, the same goes for Northern Iowa, a team that's also doing pretty well on the defensive side. No good on offense, 245th in effective field goal percentage, 252nd in two-point field goal percentage, and 315th in free throw percentage. So neither team is scoring consistent buckets. And Northern Iowa, if you're only going to score 49 points on McNeese State, not a very good defense, I really worry about your game against South Florida, because that was a home game against McNeese. You were big favorites, double-digit favorites. You lost the game outright. I can't trust your offense here. I do think Northern Iowa is better than what we've seen, but until I see it, I can't take them, or I can't take South Florida either. So give me the under in this Bulls and Panthers matchup. Next up, we see Arizona State taking on Creighton. This one's going to be a 9 o'clock Eastern start time on Fox Sports 1. Arizona State's off to a good start this year. You got to give them credit, 9-1 this season, but none of those wins over top 30 teams in Ken Palm like Creighton, and I just don't really like their chances. The Sun Devils in this game at a neutral site. Arizona State's defense has held up well, but this is a very balanced Creighton team. Yes, we've seen them struggle at times. They've lost a couple of games to some tough teams. Now, we saw that upset loss against Nebraska, which at the time looked pretty bad, but we saw on Saturday that Nebraska competed toe-to-toe with Purdue, forcing overtime in that game. They had plenty of chances to win that game. If you watched it, I was able to watch that game. They had so many shots to be able to take the lead, win it at the buzzer, really take advantage of that game, and they just couldn't make those shots down the stretch. You got to give them credit for competing, but it just goes to show Creighton took on a very tough Nebraska team. They're playing another tough team here in Arizona State, but I like the Blue Jays. I think they're just too balanced. They're a good defensive rebounding team, a good shooting team. I like their defense as well, so give me Creighton in this spot at the neutral site, laying the points. And that's it. Those are the games we're going to talk about for Monday's card in college basketball. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to leave that like and subscribe, and don't forget to put your college basketball picks in the comments section below. Again, if you're looking for my best bets, you can always find those at Pick Dawgz Premium. As always, this is Ron Romanelli. Good luck.